I stared at my smartphone in disbelief, my stomach tightening. A message from my parents appeared on my barely checked social media account, my old high school profile I'd almost forgotten existed. 10 years. My heart raced as I realized it had been 10 years since I'd spoken to any of them. Dear Eliza, it read. We wanted to let you know that in 2 weeks, Sophia will be hosting a family gathering at her newly purchased home. All the closest relatives will attend, and we believe it's the right thing for you to come too. At the bottom was my sister Sophia's address. I let out a bitter laugh that echoed in my modern office. The right thing to do. Typical mom and dad manipulation. I set my phone down and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my workspace, gazing at the city lights below. The restaurant empire I'd built now had headquarters on this building's 20th floor, worlds away from where I began. After wrestling with conflicting emotions for a day, I sent a simple reply, I'll be there. Then I leaned back in my leather chair, allowing painful memories to surface. I was always the outsider in my family. Sophia was the golden child, beautiful, charismatic, socially magnetic, and perpetually the center of attention. Everyone fawned over her. Our aunts and uncles practically worshipped her every move. Grandparents showered her with gifts. My parents. They might as well have built an altar dedicated to her. Me. I was just Eliza the Shadow. Quiet, reserved, awkward Eliza who found comfort in cookbooks rather than crowds, and peace instead of parties. Why can't you be more outgoing like your sister? Mom would sigh whenever I'd retreat to quiet corners during family gatherings. Those family events were absolute nightmares. Sophia would command the center of the room, showing off her latest dance routine while everyone applauded enthusiastically. Meanwhile, I'd find the most isolated spot and count the minutes until I could disappear. There goes the black sheep, Aunt Diane would whisper, her voice carrying intentionally. Such an odd girl, Uncle Marcus would respond, shaking his head dismissively. My cousins were equally cruel. Throughout childhood, they deliberately excluded me from their activities. We don't want Eliza. She's no fun, my cousin would announce loudly. Yeah, she just stands there anyway, his sister would add with a smirk. So I'd escape to a corner with a cookbook, pretending their words didn't cut me deeply while my heart silently shattered. When Sophia graduated high school, our entire extended family contributed to her private university tuition. It dominated every conversation for months. Sophia got into Westfield University. Isn't that incredible? We're all so proud. She'll achieve amazing things. 2 years later, at my graduation, my parents sat me down at our kitchen table. Eliza, Dad stated firmly, we simply don't have funds for your college education. All our resources went towards Sophia's tuition, Mom explained without meeting my eyes. You'll need to find employment and support yourself. I wasn't surprised by their decision, but my chest still ached with rejection. The next day I secured a position as a hotel cleaner about 20 minutes from home. I thought my situation couldn't worsen, but I was wrong. My sister and cousins began deliberately booking rooms, then trashing them beyond normal use. Look at loser Eliza, Sophia would say while filming me for her social media. Guess this is her true calling. Her friends would laugh as I silently cleaned their intentional messes. After a particularly humiliating shift where they left disgusting bathroom conditions with #family embarrassment written in lipstick on the mirror, I finally broke. That night I informed my parents I was quitting and moving downtown. I found a job at a restaurant, I announced, and I'm sharing an apartment with coworkers. Mom actually smiled. That's probably best for everyone, honey. Dad nodded disinterestedly. You're certainly old enough to be independent. 2 days later, I packed my entire life into 3 cardboard boxes. Neither parent offered help or showed sadness at my departure. Sophia was away at college, undoubtedly enjoying her privileged life. As I walked out my childhood home's door for the final time, Mom called after me, don't forget to send your new address. I never did, and they never bothered asking again. The apartment I moved into was tiny and cramped, shared with 2 fellow cleaners, Vanessa and Jade. We each contributed a third of the rent, barely manageable on our pitiful wages. The restaurant where I found work was called Naomi's, owned by former Michelin-starred chef Naomi Washington. Nothing extravagant, just an upscale establishment serving quality food, but it was far enough from my family while remaining in the same city, exactly what I needed. I immersed myself completely in work, arriving before everyone else, leaving last, accepting every additional shift available. I desperately needed the income, but more importantly, I needed distraction from the painful emptiness where family belonging should have existed. 6 months into my cleaning job at Naomi's, I noticed Naomi observing me with interest. One evening as I finished sanitizing the kitchen, she invited me into her office. "Eliza, I've noticed something unusual," she said, gesturing toward a chair. "You've been examining our discarded ingredients." "I'm sorry," I apologized, feeling my face flush with embarrassment. Naomi leaned forward. "Yesterday you took wilting herbs and vegetable scraps from our compost. Why?" My heart raced. I made staff meal for the cleaning crew. I hate seeing good food wasted." She studied me carefully. "The kitchen staff said it was better than what our line cooks prepare." I stared at the floor, unsure how to respond. "I want you to prepare something for me tomorrow." "Using only kitchen scraps?" she challenged. "Show me what you can create." For the first time in years, someone was genuinely interested in my hidden passion. "I'd be honored," I replied, my voice steady with newfound confidence. After impressing Naomi with my impromptu cooking skills, she offered me kitchen apprenticeship alongside my cleaning duties. Within months, I saved enough for a tiny studio apartment. Nothing special, just one room with a small kitchen and bathroom, but gloriously mine. No roommates, no family, completely my own space. As Christmas approached, against my better judgment, I called home on December 15th. "Hi Mom, it's Eliza." "Oh hello," she answered distractedly. "How are you?" "I'm fine. I was wondering about Christmas plans. I thought maybe I could." "We're celebrating at Aunt Karen's this year," she interrupted coldly. "Sophia's home from college and everyone's thrilled to see her." "Could I join you there?" I asked, hating the vulnerability in my voice. The silence felt endless. "Well, honestly, Eliza, nobody's really mentioned you. It would probably be uncomfortable if you appeared now." I hung up, my chest heaving with silent sobs for nearly an hour. Then I wiped my face and made a permanent decision. I was finished reaching out. If they didn't want me in their lives, I wouldn't waste another moment wanting to be in theirs. The following day, Naomi noticed my puffy eyes but respected my privacy. Instead, she offered me kitchen shifts for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. "Premium pay," she said. "Plus you can practice your own recipes when service ends." I nodded with genuine appreciation. "Thank you. I have nowhere else I need to be." "Their catastrophic loss," she stated with conviction. I immersed myself in culinary training and business studies with fierce determination. The cooking courses and management classes revealed a world I never knew existed. I discovered my natural talent for flavors, gift for organizational systems, and surprisingly, an innate ability to lead kitchen teams. By 26, I was Naomi's executive chef and operations director. I had my own office, small but significant, and a salary that allowed me to upgrade to a spacious one-bedroom apartment. Then came the pivotal moment that transformed everything. Naomi called me into her office, her expression uncharacteristically troubled. "My grandmother passed away," she said. "Left me an inheritance of about $250,000. "I'm so sorry," I said, feeling genuine sympathy. She dismissed my concern with a quick gesture. "We weren't particularly close, but now I have these funds and I'm unsure how to best utilize them." I waited expectantly. "I've been contemplating expansion," she continued, leaning forward. "Opening a second location, possibly a third. What's your professional assessment?" I responded without hesitation. "That's brilliant. I could develop a comprehensive business and menu plan. It's exactly what I've been studying." That night I worked until dawn, researching and crafting. I channeled everything I'd learned into the expansion strategy, market analysis, financial projections, staffing structures, location evaluations, and signature menu concepts. When I presented my proposal to Naomi the following day, she was visibly impressed. "This is exceptional work, Eliza. Restaurant consultant quality." I shrugged, trying to hide my pride. "It's what your vision deserves." 6 months later, we launched the second Naomi's across town. 3 months after that, a third location downtown. Both thrived immediately, thanks to meticulous planning and the stellar reputation of our original restaurant. On my 28th birthday, Naomi invited me to dinner at the city's most exclusive restaurant. After our final course, she handed me an elegant envelope. "Happy birthday, Eliza." Inside was a legal document naming me as 30% partner in Naomi's restaurant group. I stared at her, completely overwhelmed. "You've more than earned this," she stated firmly. "I couldn't have expanded without your creativity and business acumen. Honestly, I'm ready to step back." I want more time with my family. You're young, talented, and have extraordinary vision. I'm truly speechless, I managed to say. Say yes. Together we'll build a culinary empire. I smiled. A culinary empire. That feels exactly right. Over the next 4 years, we expanded to 12 locations throughout the state. I became the company's public face, developing signature menus, innovative marketing strategies, and our distinctive brand identity. Naomi often joked she was practically retired at 48. The shy, awkward girl I once was had completely disappeared. In her place stood a confident, successful restaurateur. I purchased a luxury downtown condominium, modern, elegant, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. My car was a sophisticated European import. My financial portfolio had more impressive numbers than I'd ever thought possible. The only unchanged aspect was my family relationship, absolutely zero contact for nearly a decade. They were complete strangers to me, indistinguishable from random faces I passed on city streets. So when that message appeared on my old social account, maintained only because certain food critics still contacted me there, I felt genuinely stunned. A family gathering at Sophia's house? The right thing to do to invite me? Sitting in my home office studying the message, I questioned why I even considered attending. Was I seeking reconciliation? Acknowledgement? Vindication? Perhaps all three simultaneously. Or maybe I simply needed to personally witness what I'd left behind, confirming that walking away had been the correct decision. The gathering day arrived with perfect spring sunshine. I stood before my extensive wardrobe, carefully considering my appearance. I didn't want to arrive in anything ostentatious that screamed successful chef entrepreneur. That would appear desperate for validation. Instead, I selected a subtly luxurious outfit, designer dark jeans, a silk blouse, and a cashmere wrap. My only indulgence was my watch, a sleek Cartier that likely cost more than Sophia earned in 3 months from her sponsored posts. I examined my reflection critically. At 32, I barely resembled the insecure young woman who'd fled home a decade ago. My hair was styled in a sophisticated bob, my posture commanding, my gaze steady and assured. That wounded girl had vanished completely. Rather than driving my luxury car, I ordered a rideshare, a deliberate decision. I'd arrive as a modest guest, not someone flaunting success. The journey to Sophia's neighborhood took nearly 30 minutes, during which I mentally rehearsed potential interactions. I was resolved to maintain composure regardless of provocations. Sophia's house was unremarkable, a typical suburban residence in a middle-class development. Nothing extraordinary. I knew my downtown penthouse was significantly more impressive, but dismissed the comparison. I hadn't come to evaluate real estate. I pressed the doorbell, hearing the buzz of conversation and artificial laughter inside. Moments later, the door opened, revealing my mother holding a smartphone in one hand, clearly interrupted mid-photo. She stared blankly for several seconds before recognition registered. "Eliza? Is that really you?" "Hello, Mom," I replied evenly, my heart racing despite my calm exterior. "My goodness, you look so different." She seemed genuinely shocked, as if expecting me in a cleaning uniform with practical shoes. "Come in quickly. Everyone's here and Sophia's about to start her live stream." I entered the house, immediately engulfed by the familiar tension of family gatherings masked as celebration. The living spaces were filled with relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, and their perfectly dressed children. My father chatted with Uncle Marcus by an artfully arranged fireplace. Sophia commanded attention center room, gesturing with a champagne flute while recording herself on a selfie stick as relatives posed behind her. As I entered, conversations faltered. Heads turned. Eyes widened with disbelief. "Is that actually Eliza?" Aunt Diane whisper exclaimed. "She looks completely transformed," someone murmured incredulously. I acknowledged everyone with a polite nod but approached no one specifically. Let them come to me, I decided. My cousin, now in her 30s like me, leaned toward her husband and whispered audibly. I caught still cleaning and putting on airs. I pretended not to hear while secretly amused. They still believed I was scrubbing toilets, and failing at that. "Everyone. Eliza has arrived," my mother announced dramatically. "Isn't this perfect for Sophia's special day?" The complete family reunited. My father approached with an awkward side embrace. "Good to see you, honey. It's certainly been a while." "Yes, quite some time," I agreed calmly, not mentioning communication works bidirectionally. Sophia finally acknowledged me, sauntering over while still filming herself approaching. Well, she said, giving me an exaggerated visual assessment. If it isn't my big sister. Finally decided we're worthy of your presence again? Hello, Sophia, I responded with perfect composure. Congratulations on your home. She appeared momentarily thrown by my confidence but recovered swiftly. Thanks. Just my starter property, of course. I'm already planning my upgrade when my influencer partnerships really accelerate. We relocated to the dining area where a long table displayed Instagram-worthy place settings and decorations. Sophia, predictably, claimed the head position, with our parents flanking her. I was relegated to the far end beside a distant relative I barely recognized, facing a child who rhythmically kicked my chair. The meal began with elaborately filmed toasts, primarily celebrating Sophia. My father rose first, raising his crystal glass while someone recorded. To my extraordinary daughter, who has made us incredibly proud, from dance team captain in high school to the successful influencer she is today. Sophia has consistently exceeded our expectations. Enthusiastic applause erupted. My mother followed immediately. Sophia has always possessed that special quality, she effused. Her social media presence is absolutely thriving, and now this gorgeous home. We couldn't possibly be prouder. More deliberate applause and phone cameras flashing. Uncle Marcus stood next. I remember when Sophia was just a little girl, already displaying the charisma and performance ability that would make her influential. She truly honors this family. The tributes continued, each more exaggerated than the previous. Sophia basked in the adoration, her smile widening with each flattering comment. Eventually, she seemed to suddenly recall my presence. She looked down the length of the table, phone camera aimed directly at me, a subtle smirk playing across her perfectly contoured face. And you, Eliza? Care to share something about your life? All attention shifted to me. I carefully placed my fork down, preparing to offer a simple acknowledgement, but Sophia interjected. Still cleaning toilets, sis? Or have you advanced to changing hotel sheets by now? The table exploded with laughter. I heard Aunt Diane whisper loudly, imagine still scrubbing bathrooms at her age, to Uncle Marcus, deliberately ensuring everyone heard. 10 years earlier, I would have flushed with humiliation, possibly even teared up. I might have invented an excuse and escaped the hostile environment, but not today. Instead, I laughed, a genuine, confident laugh that instantly silenced everyone. What's so amusing? My mother questioned, appearing bewildered. I offered a composed smile. I find it interesting that after 10 years without communication, none of you know anything whatsoever about my actual life, literally nothing, yet you all feel perfectly comfortable making uninformed assumptions. The table fell completely silent. I reached into my designer bag and extracted my business card, premium stock, embossed lettering, with Naomi's Restaurant Group's elegant logo emblazoned in the corner. Would you mind passing this to Sophia? I asked the relative beside me. Feel free to examine it as it circulates. They accepted it, glanced down, and their eyes widened noticeably. They passed it to the next person, who reacted similarly. The card journeyed around the table in absolute silence, each recipient reading it, then staring at me with transformed expressions. When it finally reached Sophia, she examined it, then looked up at me, her complexion visibly paling beneath her makeup. Eliza Parker, executive chef and co-owner, Naomi's Restaurant Group, she read mechanically, her voice suddenly hollow. What exactly does this mean? Yes, what does that indicate? My father inquired, leaning to view the card. I took a deliberate sip of water before responding. It means I'm co-owner of a restaurant empire with 12 locations throughout the state. We're expanding nationally next quarter. The silence was deafening. You own restaurants? My mother finally stammered. I'm co-owner, I corrected precisely. I hold 30% ownership stake. Started as kitchen staff, became executive chef, then business partner. Our restaurant group has been featured in Culinary Excellence magazine twice this year. Sophia stared at me as if I'd transformed into someone unrecognizable before her eyes. My downtown penthouse is considerably more spacious than this, I remarked casually, then returned to my salad with deliberate nonchalance. My parents exchanged meaningful glances. Then, as if someone had activated a switch, my mother's expression instantly transformed into a radiant smile. Eliza, why haven't you shared your tremendous success with us? We're absolutely bursting with pride. I chewed methodically, swallowed, and delicately dabbed my napkin against my lips before responding. You could have inquired about my life at any point during these past 10 years. But that never happened. Not even once. Profound silence enveloped the table following my statement. My mother's smile wavered momentarily before she rapidly composed herself. Well, we're discovering everything now, aren't we? And we're absolutely delighted. Isn't that right, everyone? Suddenly, relatives who had been openly ridiculing me moments earlier were desperately competing to demonstrate interest in my career. Tell us about your restaurant concepts, Eliza. How large is your staff? Have you appeared on any culinary television programs? Sophia remained at the head of the table, visibly sullen and silent, her previously guaranteed spotlight completely extinguished. My father continually glanced between us, clearly struggling to reconcile the accomplished woman before him with the daughter he'd dismissed years ago. I answered their inquiries politely but concisely. After approximately 15 minutes of this uncomfortable new dynamic, I checked my luxury timepiece and rose from my chair. I need to leave now. I have an early executive meeting tomorrow. But you've barely arrived. My mother protested. We have so much reconnecting to do. 10 years worth, I agreed evenly. But that's hardly accomplishable in a single evening. As I collected my designer handbag, my parents followed me toward the exit with several curious relatives trailing behind. Sophia remained seated, still staring at my business card in apparent disbelief. It was absolutely wonderful seeing you, Eliza, my mother gushed, suddenly warm and overtly affectionate. We've missed you tremendously. I smiled, not cruelly but without genuine warmth. Have you really? She blinked, visibly startled. Of course we have. You're our daughter. Fascinating. Because when I called that Christmas and asked to join the family celebration, you explicitly stated nobody wanted me present. She had sufficient self-awareness to appear embarrassed. That was merely a misunderstanding. Was it? I questioned. Or is it that you suddenly desire a relationship now that you're aware of my success? Eliza, that's unfair, my father interjected defensively. No, what wasn't fair, I responded calmly. Nothing about it was fair. But that belongs in the past now. I walked through the doorway, hearing my mother call after me, we want to make everything right, Eliza. We want to be a proper family again. I offered no response. I entered my waiting car and instructed the driver to take me home, to my actual home, the sanctuary I'd built entirely for myself. When I entered my penthouse, I slipped off my designer shoes and laughed, genuinely laughed, loudly and freely, until tears formed in my eyes. Their expressions when my business card circulated around that table. The initial shock, followed by utter disbelief, and then the immediate attempt to reclaim me once they realized my success. Everything unfolded exactly as I might have predicted, yet watching it actually happen still felt strangely surprising. The following morning, I awoke to 23 notifications, 5 from my mother, 6 from my father, 3 from Sophia, and the remainder from various relatives. I scrolled through them without engaging, then set my phone aside and focused on my day. This continued for nearly a week, my phone constantly illuminated with messages from family members who hadn't bothered contacting me in a decade. I ignored most communications, concentrating instead on business. We were finalizing agreements to launch 3 signature restaurants in adjacent states. On the 6th day, during a rare peaceful evening at home, I decided to answer one call to halt the persistent barrage. It was my mother. Eliza, she exclaimed breathlessly. Finally. You must join us for dinner this Sunday, just you, me, your father, and Sophia. A perfect opportunity to rebuild our relationship. I don't believe that would be beneficial, I replied calmly. But we're family, she insisted. We love you, Eliza. We always have. If you truly loved me, I responded deliberately, why was there absolute silence for 10 years? Why didn't you ever inquire about my well-being or offer support? Why did you explicitly state no one wanted me present that Christmas? Pointed silence followed. How dare you be so ungrateful? She snapped, her sugary veneer instantly shattering. After everything we sacrificed for you. What specifically did you sacrifice? I questioned. You didn't finance my education. You never supported my culinary aspirations. You didn't even verify I was still alive. We raised you. Yes, you did. Then you determined I wasn't worth your consideration. Now you've reversed that decision. Unfortunately, it's far too late. I ended the call before she could respond, feeling strangely peaceful, as if releasing a burden. Next came Sophia. Her messages grew increasingly urgent, culminating in an elaborate proposal requesting a substantial investment in her influencer business. She needed $75,000, promising repayment with generous interest. I waited until she sent a follow-up "Did you receive my proposal?" message before responding with a professionally worded rejection. Then I blocked her completely. 2 weeks post-reunion, curiosity prevailed. I examined Sophia's social media profile. She had posted a lengthy, self-pitying diatribe about ungrateful family members forgetting their origins and how success corrupts character. The comments section overflowed with sympathetic responses from relatives, all rallying around poor Sophia, collectively labeling me ungrateful and selfish. I should have felt wounded, but instead found myself laughing again. They remained unchanged, the same narrow-minded, judgmental people they'd always been. The only difference was my newfound clarity, unobscured by any desperate need for their approval. I closed the browser and redirected my focus to the expansion proposal before me. Naomi and I were planning to establish a culinary academy adjacent to our flagship restaurant, developing future chefs while contributing meaningfully to the community. Reviewing the projections, I experienced profound contentment. My life wasn't flawless, but it was authentically mine, built methodically without assistance from those who should have provided unwavering support. Through this journey, I discovered my remarkable resilience. The following morning, as I prepared for an executive meeting, my assistant approached with a message. "Your mother has called the office repeatedly. Should I continue documenting these calls or restrict future contact?" I contemplated briefly. Block all communications, I decided firmly. And any related family numbers as well. My focus remains exclusively on our future expansion, not past entanglements. She nodded efficiently, requiring no explanation, and I entered the conference room feeling remarkably unburdened. The family gathering had provided something unexpectedly valuable, not reconciliation, but complete resolution. I no longer questioned whether distancing myself had been the correct decision. I no longer harbored uncertainty about whether my family might have evolved or if they genuinely valued my presence. They had revealed their authentic selves with perfect clarity, while I had demonstrated precisely who I'd become, a woman strong enough to identify destructive relationships, courageous enough to establish necessary boundaries, and wise enough to recognize when certain chapters must be permanently concluded.